he said, I hate God. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I channeling here? He said, I hate God. But then he explains it. He said, it's God that humans, relate to is nothing like the real spirit, like real God. He said, it's a human God. It's an old white guy that's pissed off, that has all these rules. You can't even book an appointment with him to talk. And, he says,
He's
that's
always
the
angry. He always wants to punish us, like George Carlin. You remember George Carlin?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah. I love George Carlin was great. Once in a while, when I'm channeling Adamas, it's like, okay, am I channeling Adamas and George Carlin at the same time?
All right, Geoffrey, and thank you very much for being a guest on About Freedom Show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And it's a delight to be here with you. And I'd have to say the energy feels really good. And it's just, I can already feel the viewers and your energy, of course. So I'm excited.
Now, Jeff, did you ever ask Tobias about the current events? What's going on right now?
He says right now is the pivotal time on the planet ever. And it's not a scary thing. It's actually a really good thing. But what we're doing is birthing the new human species, the next iteration of humans. And it's all backed by technology advances, by more light coming into the planet than ever before. But we're on our way here in these next 30 years to what some people call singularity. And singularity is when the normal patterns of the human condition of the planet, they're on kind of a hockey stick curve. Things are changing, going faster, but at a certain point we hit this quote unquote singularity, and everything is so different that you couldn't even predict it or prophesize it right now. So if there's mediums or psychics that are looking into the future, they couldn't possibly even go beyond that point of about 2050, because the planet has changed so much. But if you can imagine now, between now 2024 and then 25 years from now, the enormous amount of changes that are going to take place. And it's really precipitated by technology. Technology is not leading it, but technology is fueling it. It's our consciousness that's leading it. Technology is going so fast right now, and I know you're kind of into technologies, and the difference between AI from a year ago to right now is
Yeah,
phenomenal. Can you
yeah.
imagine in 5 years? So he basically says you are truly realized masters. You've chosen to stay on the planet embodied, to basically let your light shine, and with no agenda as to what political candidates get elected, or even to any causes in particular, but to shine the light. And what that does is illuminates potentials to humans that they might not have otherwise seen. So it's like turning on a light in a dark room. And that's what we're here for. The planet is going to go through a lot of shakeups. And I would encourage you, every viewer, don't get caught up in it. It's part of a natural process, and sometimes it's not pretty. Can you imagine the caterpillar, deciding that, okay, I'm kind of done being the old caterpillar. I want to change, and thinking that it's just going to turn a little brighter green and grow some more legs, and suddenly it's in this cocoon turning to mush. But that's as part of the process. It will evolve now into the butterfly, and we're going through it personally, or have gone through it, and the planet is now going to go through that. And the good news is that, first of all, there are so many enlightened conscious beings on the planet right now. You don't hear about them in the news, but they are amongst us, and we are them as well. And on top of that, Adamus says the pathway right now, the planet evolves to the point where in all the cosmos, Earth becomes known as the planet of love and of light. Above all, he has a statement. He says, "There's no being greater than the human being," And people take offense with that and say, yeah, but look at us, we murder, we starve, we do all these things. But he says, we're the angelic beings that came to this place, forgot who we were, and in order to find something, not even knowing what we were looking for, and ultimately that thing that the angelic beings were trying to find was love. Adamas says that it was first experienced here on the planet, and not that recent, not that long ago. 5,000 years ago was when love was really first experienced. And he says now we evolve the entire planet, we evolve the human species. The old way of power and greed has no place to where we're going. So that's kind of a long answer to your question.
Yeah, I probably was so wrong with my question. I should ask about the inner turbulence that's going on right now because people are,
Oh,
you know what I mean? The people are feeling
oh,
the change inside. It's crazy. They don't know what's going on, but the change inside is amazing. I
yeah,
remember back in 1999, like exactly when you met Tobias, I had this 1999. I had the questions coming to. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and the questions were coming to my head. I mean, why I'm here, things like that. And this was the turning point of the beginning of the awakening.
yeah,
And I want to point out this that people think that awakening is the end of the journey, but it's only the beginning of the journey to
yeah.
realization, because it's hard. Your life is going to get even harder, but you are moving towards enlightenment.
Yeah, so often when somebody goes through awakening, their life falls apart in a way. They lose their job, or their marriage, their
Yeah,
relationship breaks up, their body goes to hell, and they think, "What have I done?" Again, going back to the metaphor of the caterpillar and the butterfly. You're in that cocoon, you turn to mush, but it's all part of a very natural process, and it's so important for people to understand where the human self sometimes doesn't, but it's a natural process of evolution and realization. You don't become a more powerful, better looking, younger human necessarily, but that's not the goal. That's not the important part. So, we all, this is so important for the viewers to know, is that we all go through this and it's tough. I mean, it's really tough. You're changing from kind of a biological being now into a light being. Can you imagine the
yeah,
implications that it has on your body? The aches and the pains and the vomiting or the whatever happens
yeah,
because you're metamorphosizing. And the most important thing to understand is, first of all, it's a natural process, and you get there. The human resists it and almost works against it and fights it. That makes it more difficult. But you just take a deep breath and you realize, I am that I am. I am an angelic being having been in human form, and now I'm evolving into a true enlightened master on the planet.
yeah. Near-death experiencers go through this because they went to the other side. They've seen a different dimension. They seem different. When they come back here, they're confused and they're depressed. Usually
Yeah, yeah,
they divorce because it's a different kind of. They're not the same on the same level with the person that they used to be in love, and they get divorced and they go apart, and they go through this turbulent. I had interviewed, I don't know, 30, 35 near-death experiencers, and they had a rough, but then they come to to realization probably
yeah,
eventually who they are, and they are happy.
yeah. Well, it's almost like awakening itself because that's
Yeah,
very euphoric. It's like, oh my gosh, there is a different way. But then you're back in everyday life, and then it's very depressing.
yeah.
And you just want to scream sometimes. Or if you have
Some near-death experiencers they were contemplating suicide.
oh, absolutely,
I,
that's
because they say, I want to go back. I don't fit here.
yeah.
So
On our website, we have something called the 12 Signs of Awakening, and things that we've found are very, very common when somebody's going through it. And one of them is a desire to leave the planet. And it's not out of anger, it's just out of, I'm done, you know,
Yeah.
That's it. And in these 12 signs, again, on our website, it's all free of charge, but it talks about change in relationships, your job, your self perception, all these things that happen, and people read that and they're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one in the world. It's like, no, you're going through the awakening signs, and you get through it. I know I can say that with great confidence. You get through it because you have tremendous
Yeah.
guidance from your own soul, and you have groups like the Crimson Circle or other groups that they're really good affinity groups because they make you realize, oh my gosh, there's other people on the planet like me.
Yeah. But then, just think about it. I'm talking with the viewers right now. You're going to get there anyway, sooner or later. You're going to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Just go through the struggle right now. You chose this before you incarnated, believe it or not. You chose this. Just go with it. There's
yeah,
nothing going to happen worse in your mind than that. You're going to get there. So just
yeah.
stick around. Yeah.
Adamus calls it allowing, because the human freaks out, like what the hell's happening, and Adamus is like, just take a deep breath and allow. And what that means is let your divine nature come into your body, your mind, your heart, and stop fighting this. You've lived probably 1,000 lives on the planet, and now you're going through this huge change. Yeah, it's tough sometimes, but you get through it, and just allow rather than resist and fight. And there's a tendency to go very mental as well. You try to
Yeah.
think your way through all of it, and it's not a mental thing. You can never beat it or do it mentally. It's allowing.
Yeah, I read about you that you work with the people that they are on their last incarnation on Earth. Is it
Yes.
true? This is how it is, yeah. And how do you recognize people who are on their last incarnation here?
Usually, when somebody's they're done with the planet, usually they know it. Like, okay, I'm not coming back. I'm going to clear all my stuff right now, and it's not a bad thing. They're just like, I've seen everything I want to see. I've lived 1,000 lifetimes or more. I've experienced everything. Now I want that final realization, and then you basically ascend into the other realms, and we could have a long discussion about that. But you take with you everything that you've ever learned on this planet. You take
Yeah,
along the attributes of a physical body, and you can go anywhere you want.
yeah,
But right now, Adamus is encouraging us to stay on the planet, not to leave right away, because this is the time of machines. It's the epic time,
yeah,
and what happens in the next 3 or 4 years, in particular, will set the course and the direction of the planet for the next 25 years. You've seen it. You travel, and the world is it's crazy right now. I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't even make sense. But it's all part of the transformation. Tobias had a beautiful statement. He said, "Stand behind the short wall," meaning, you know, don't jump into the duality. Don't get involved in politics. Don't get involved in even causes right now.
yeah,
Stand behind the short wall and observe
yeah,
what's happening and shine your light.
yeah. It's interesting about traveling and getting all these experiences because when you are on your last incarnation, you just don't want to come back here. You want to experience right now as much as you can, see everything, get disappointed with everything, and say,
Yeah,
"That's it. I
yeah,
knew it's
yeah.
not good here. I got to get out of here."
Yeah,
So,
yeah, 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 yeah. And in a way, it's really good because you're like, okay, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not going to
yeah,
procrastinate and come back for 5 more lifetimes. I'm
yeah,
going to wrap it up. And then people find that there's a desire suddenly to go out and travel. And what they're really doing is
yeah.
going back to places from past lives to kind of collect
That's
themselves.
that's interesting.
Uh, they might be attracted to Egypt or to Peru or someplace like that, not knowing
Yeah.
really why, but it's to collect yourself.
Yeah, I was attracted to United States, to America. I'm from Eastern Europe originally, and I'm here right now. But I was attracted to United States all the time. I don't know why. Not to go and work over there to make money. I was in film school over there. But I was attracted. I'm still have a, like my mind, 70% is in America, even though I live
Yeah,
here. Like I
Yeah,
live
yeah.
there, but you see, thanks to technology, we've been talking about technology. Can you imagine 30 years ago that we can go anywhere in the world and have these conversations right now, deep conversations, and not only have conversation with each other, but all the world can hear our conversation.
Oh, mind
Is that
blowing.
amazing?
Yeah. Well, Crimson Circle, when we started, and again, Linda and I didn't have any plans. We didn't have any aspirations. It just happened. But it was right at that perfect time where the internet was really growing.
Yeah,
And immediately we became internet based. And that's how people connected. And Adamus makes a statement and he says, I know it's tough at times, but you'll never go through such an experience ever again. So enjoy it. You're never going to go into your enlightenment again on the planet. Enjoy all of it. And the world is crazy, but enjoy it. I mean, it's beautiful. And
yeah,
there's so many dynamics taking place. Like Tobias talks about Gaia, Mother Earth leaving. Well, that's just part of the many things that are happening right now. It's causing a lot of upheavals in our weather, in the
yeah.
earth, in everything. So we're right in the middle of the crazy, 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 but
But
there's a
it's not a
purpose.
bad thing. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's not
important.
a yeah, it's
Because
important to understand
yeah,
that. And um, you know, there are days where it's tiring and I get worn out, but I love it because I see what's really happening underneath the chaos, and it's beautiful.
yeah. Now talking about Tobias, he was with you from 1999 until 2009, and he
Yeah,
reincarnated in 2009.
yes.
Do you have any
Yeah.
idea about his what was did he? I mean, where he reincarnated and where he is right now?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. So he left Crimson Circle, and he said the reason he was leaving to reincarnate. And I was really confused because it's like, well, hang on a second, you're an ascended master, you don't have to come back here. But he explained it. He said he and some 1,500 other ascended masters were all going to be reincarnating on the planet right at about the time of 2009. His purpose wasn't to come and save the world, not at all. He said the world's going to be fine eventually, but he said, in all my lifetimes on the planet, never really experienced just true joy and love. When he was Tobias back in the biblical times, he was very, very holy. He followed God's commandments. He followed the Jewish religion
Yeah,
to a T. And he
yeah,
never really enjoyed life because he was so busy
yeah,
being afraid of God and trying to appease God.
yeah,
So he came back, he incarnated back into the planet, and took on the name Sam, lived in the northwest United States in state of Oregon. And it's kind of weird to explain, but he came back in what he calls a shell body. In other words, the body was already born, was walking around talking, was 10 years old when his spirit occupied the body. It wasn't like a walk in, but it was more, we call it a shell body.
yeah,
It happens all the time, by the way. The spirit doesn't come into the baby's body the moment it's born or even at conception. It usually comes in about a year, 2 years after the birth of the child, and then continues to infuse until you're about 21 years old. But anyway, Tobias took on this body, this persona of Sam, lived in Oregon, and uh, he tells stories about it all the time. But Sam fell in love. I mean, deeply in love, and that was what Tobias wanted. He wanted to experience unconditional love with another person
yeah.
and eventually himself. He'd never done that. And the joy of love. And it's a long story, but um, he did that for what was it, almost 10 years. So he was in about 20 years old. And finally, his girlfriend, the love of his life, died of COVID. And it was devastating, and then he left the planet shortly after. But he said, I finally did what I never really could do before in all my lifetimes, is to experience the deepest love you could ever imagine. So
Okay,
Sam,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So he incarnated in a shell body. He didn't reincarnate as a baby. He incarnated into an adult,
A 10-year-old,
yeah,
10-year-old
10-year-old.
boy.
So in
Yeah,
2020, he was 19 years old.
that's correct. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And he left the body already. He went back to, yeah.
Yes, he's
Okay.
gone. He left. I forgot the exact date. About I don't know, a year or two ago, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, if people are interested, you can find it on our website, and it's called Farewell, Sam's Farewell, or something like that. But there's wonderful stories that or Tobias talks about in coming back to Earth, and he didn't have aspirations to go around and be a guru. He basically what he loved doing was picking apples in the orchard near where he lived and being in love with this girl. And he loves classic sports cars like Mustangs and things like that.
Okay. So
And it's a
yeah.
beautiful story.
So he basically incarnated. He was 9 years old, or 10 years old at the
Ten,
time in
yes,
2009. He incarnated. He grew a little bit, to the adolescence, and then he fell in love with this girl. He experienced deep love on earth, and that was
yes,
his mission. And his
yes,
girlfriend passed away, and he left too.
yes.
That was mission accomplished.
Yeah, and there was no sadness, no regret, and I think it was called Sam Be Well,
Okay.
or something like that. You can find it on the
Yeah,
website,
yeah,
and
yeah.
uh, but he said I'd always in his old lifetimes. Of course, he hadn't been on the planet in 2,500 years, but it was always about following God's laws from one lifetime to the other. And he thought, okay, if I follow God's laws to a T, I'll get into heaven. Well, then at one point actually he had his realization. He had been thrown in prison in Israel in Palestine, and because his next door neighbor was trying to get his land, they had him imprisoned, and
Yeah,
neighbor took over his land, and he was a miserable man in prison. Old
yeah,
man, lost his family, his land, and cursing God now because
yeah,
God, how come you have done this to me? And as he tells the story that every day this little bird would come to his cell where the cell bars are and chirp and sing and everything. And Tobias hated that little bird because it was like mocking him, like saying, I'm
hmm,
free and you're not. Look at you, you're locked away in
yeah.
jail.
I'm
And
free. I can fly anywhere. Yeah.
yeah, it was
Wow.
almost just he was on his deathbed, just about to die in prison, and suddenly, he was not delusional, but he was in an altered state, and he realized the bird was truly Archangel Michael, coming to him every day to sing praises
Yeah.
and to say, "Hey, don't forget who you really are." And at that point, 3 days before his death, he became enlightened, and then left the planet.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful story. I love it.
Yeah. 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 I want to bring as an example Paramahansa Yogananda. I'm pretty sure you heard of him, autobiography of a
Yes.
yogi. And he also, he was like, I don't know, 3 or 5 years old, and he already knew why he was on this earth. He was meditating and he was looking for a guru. And this was his mission on earth all the time, to bring people through yoga
Hmm.
to God, closer to. It's called his organization was called Self-Realization Fellowship. It's still called Self-Realization Fellowship, which is a very beautiful name for that. It's
Yes.
exactly what you described: realization, self-realization. I think this is an
Yeah.
amazing name. Yeah, and he also, when his mission was accomplished, he was only 59 years old. He
Mm.
just left the body. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. I don't know, he was at some conference and he
Mm.
just read a poem, and he just slightly went to the ground. That's it.
Wow.
Very
Wow.
beautifully. And his
Yeah.
body, it's been documented by morticians. His body didn't decay for almost a month. It was fresh
Unbelievable.
for a month.
Wow.
And this
Wow.
has been documented. It's not like made up story.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's in Los Angeles. It's in the records. Yeah, it's amazing. So we all have a mission. We come back here to love. Probably most people come back to it to love, because the love, that this is what we want to experience. We experience unconditional love on the other side, but we want to experience human life, love as well here.
Yeah, and human love is so much more poignant, so much more real, visceral than, there's kind of this agape love, kind of universal love, kind of like a big umbrella.
Yeah,
But when you come to Earth, you can experience, I mean, real deep love in a very sensual way as well, because we have physical bodies. I swear the reason why we created physical bodies for ourselves is so that we could experience love through our bodies.
yeah,
And yeah, and Adamas says this is the only planet like it anywhere. And he said, in spite of all the hardships and forgetting who we are, and having to deal with concepts of like the devil or an unknown God, all these things, somehow we have such a passion and such a deep desire. In spite of all that, we create things like music and
yeah,
good food and loving relationships and poetry and art. I mean, and he's like, who else could do that in spite of all the hardships? There's such a passion with the humans.
yeah.
That's why he says there's no beings greater than the human being.
Yeah, human beings create all the time, subconsciously. We always create. We always want to do something. Somebody's building a house. Somebody's doing some paintings. We always create, but people don't even think about it. But we have this desire inside of us to create all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that since I was a kid. I wanted to do something to create. I don't know. I was trying to do that. Always in the creative field, one way or another.
I'd go crazy if I wasn't creating something,
Yeah,
I mean, I just love it. A project, whether it's building
yeah,
something or I love working on my property. I love working with the Crimson Circle staff and creating videos and
yeah.
projects and that. I mean, it's thrilling. So
Yeah.
yes, we have that innate creator desire within us.
Yeah, and maybe, Jeff, I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe God is creating through us. He wants to create and experience everything through us. And this is
Yes.
why we have this desire all the time.
Yeah, and Tobias once told me early on. He said, God never knew what a sunset was until the human experienced it. God never knew
Yeah,
what
yeah,
making love was about. God never knew love. Now that's one that some people have a hard issue with. So when Adamas says that love is only 5,000 years old on this planet, never really experienced it. We experienced affection, desire, eros, or the sexual desire and things like that, but true love.
yeah,
And they're like, oh, no, no, God is love, and love is all around, love is everywhere. And Adamus is like, no, God did not know what love was until the humans started experiencing it. And there's other civilizations that might be more technically advanced or quote unquote intelligent, but they don't know love. That's why they come here. They don't come here to save the planet. They come here to find out what is this thing that humans have called love. And they try, probing our bodies, but they can't find it, in a specific place in the body. They're fascinated by it. They think that they can somehow, you know, take it and encapsulate it and bring it back. But you can't. Love comes from the soul itself. Love is the I am, which is your highest self. The I am rejoicing in its existence. I am that I am. And we talked before about allowing and people going through tough times. If you feel into that for a moment, that rejoicing of your spirit, it doesn't get all wrapped up in your issues and problems, but your soul, your spirit is constantly rejoicing. I am that I am. I exist. If you're having a bad day, just feel into that. The I exist. That's the miracle. We are beings of consciousness. We're not just physical beings. It's not just that we have a heart and a brain. At the core of everything, I mean, and of anything, anywhere, is consciousness. And you can easily tap into your own consciousness at any point. It's not your thoughts. It's hard to describe, but it's your consciousness, your awareness.
Right. Are you saying that some souls are coming to this earth to experience love? But not most of my near-death experience. 100% of my near-death experiencers that I interviewed said that they felt 100% of unconditional love on the other side.
Yes. Yeah.
So love
And
is
what
there.
Well, and Adamus, I've had talks with him. I've never personally had a near-death experience, but I've asked him about it, and he said, "Well, what happens when you die is that you disengage from your physical body, and that is such a euphoric feeling. I mean, better than any drug you
You
could
don't
ever
have the
take.
burden. You don't have the burden, the noise, everything that's attacking us all the time.
Aches and
Suddenly
the
you're free
pains.
from it. Yeah.
Boom. So that's the white light experience that people have because it's so overwhelming to be released. It's like letting go of a balloon filled with a lot of helium. Boom, it just goes up.
Yeah.
So you experience that, but the next thing you experience, according to Adamus, is your beliefs. So if you believe that Jesus is
Yeah.
your savior, you'll experience that. If you believe that nothing happens after death, you'll experience that for a little
You're going to
bit.
be in the void.
Exactly, exactly. But suddenly you're in the void and you're going, hang on a second, I can still feel myself. I
Something,
exist.
I'm still here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And,
And
you know,
then they see a little point of light when they think about that I am still my consciousness, I'm still me, Sam or Jeff, and then at that point they see that little pinpoint of light, and they start
yeah,
moving towards that light.
exactly, exactly. And then so often they feel unconditional love. But what that is, according to Adamus, is that's your essence, your I am, your soul. You've given the gift to your own soul of experiencing love. So now it also becomes love, but without condition. The humans have conditions, but the soul doesn't.
Yeah,
So suddenly you're encountering your own self, your own love that you experienced here on the planet, and but now through your soul, through the eyes of your soul. It's, according to Damas, an overwhelming experience. And so I asked him one time, I said, okay, when you have a near death experience and you feel this unconditional love, which essentially came from you to your soul in the first place. What happened over 5,000 years ago before love was truly experienced? What happened? If somebody had a near death experience, and he said, well, they didn't experience love. They might have experienced acceptance or compassion, but because love had not been experienced yet by the human, it really couldn't be experienced during a near death experience. So I thought that was kind of fascinating.
yeah. All right, Jeff. Now I'm going to ask you about. We talk about Tobias. Now I'd like to ask you about Adamus, if you don't
Yes,
mind. How you met
yes,
him, and how this
absolutely.
whole process, yeah, how it started, and it's still going right now. I understand.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, going strong. I've been channeling Adamas now since 2009, so it's 15 years. He's a character. He is such a character. And again, remember that it's Saint Germain, who is a historic figure. Saint Germain traveled throughout Europe. He spent a lot of time in Romania. He was trained by the Ricazzi family. Uh, Starting at the time, I think he was about 7 years old until the time he was 20. He tells stories about his training in the mystery schools in Romania and Transylvania. So he was a real being. You can check the internet and find out things about him. It was pretty fascinating. So when he came to the Crimson Circle, he said, "Okay, I'm done with the macchio." Now, macchio means spiritual bullshit.
Okay.
Distraction. He said, "I'm done with the macchio," and he said, "I don't care if all you leave, as long as they got 5 people to work with. But I don't care if the rest of you leave if you don't like me, if you don't like my style." I was pretty scary, I mean, he's trying to run people off, and I'm like, "Geez, what is this dude doing?" And then he started with the channeling, and of course, eyes open, walking around, and he's actually pretty damn entertaining. He talks about jokingly. He says, "Yeah, I'm the president of the Ascended Masters Club," which is, by the way, a real place according to him. Uh, And I asked him one time, well, how did you get elected? There's right now approximately 12,000 ascended masters. I said, did you have a vote? He said, no, I appointed myself president. He's got kind of a entertaining arrogance to him.
Okay.
It serves a purpose because it gets us out of our comfort zones. It gets us thinking about things in a different way, and he'll pour water over somebody's head during the middle of a
Now, I'll
session.
ask you a question, Jeff. I mean, this is a little bit, spicy question. Does he swear or not?
Oh yeah, he swears
Because
more than I do.
because
More than I do.
sometimes I like to swear too, and then I say, "Hold on a second, I am a podcaster here for a spiritual channel. I shouldn't be doing that." But for some reason, I like to do that. I don't know.
Oh no,
So this,
he swears, and I use curse words once in a while, but not that often.
yeah,
He doesn't mind swearing. He said, "What's the big deal?" He said, "It's just your energy attached to the word,
yeah,
like shit. Big
yeah, yeah,
deal,
yeah,
you know." But he'll swear, but to kind of shake us up, to say, "Why are
yeah.
you so afraid of sex?"
To not to
Uh,
be so holy. He doesn't want us to be so holy. Yeah, he probably doesn't
no,
like that. Yeah,
no.
holy than thou.
No, and he'll make really bold statements like recently he said, and he does it for effect. He said, "I hate God." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what am I channeling here?" He said, "I hate God," but then he explains it. He said, "It's God that humans relate to is nothing like the real spirit, like real God." He said, "It's a human God. It's an old white guy that's pissed off, that has all these rules. You can't even book an appointment with him to talk." And he says
He's
that's
always
the
angry. He always wants to punish us, like George Carlin. You remember George Carlin?
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah. I love George Carlin was great. Once in a while, when I'm channeling Adamas, it's like, okay, am I channeling Adamas and George Carlin at the
right.
same time? Because he'll get into this rant
Now,
thing.
now George Carlin, it seems that he was channeling somebody for sure. That was
Oh God,
amazing.
he
And
was
we
one of the
watch it
best.
right now. It's like 20, 30 years ago, he was saying something, and it's so fresh. It's like he's
Yeah.
saying it right now.
Oh, he was an amazing comic.
Yeah.
Uh, but Adamas does things for shock value, and he says he'll tell people, "I deliberately will distract you to get you out of your head, so your spirit can come in, and you think all the time, and you're constantly planning." He said, "I got to do what's necessary to get you out of that," and so he distracts. He is so funny during the workshops that we do. They're very interactive with the people, but he likes to pretend he's a game show host, like a TV game show host. He says, "If I came back to Earth, that's what I would do."
Yeah.
Uh, and he'll hold cards, like a game show host does. There's nothing written on them, but and then he quizzes the audience, like,
Hmm.
okay, question: Who is the greatest ascended master ever? And of
Me.
course, the answer is him.
Yeah.
But he'll ask questions though about incarnations and karma, and how much does it cost to get rid of your karma? And he'll ask that to the audience, and people actually will come up with an amount, and he's like, "No, it doesn't cost anything. You can get rid of your karma anytime you want. You just walk away from it." So he's very entertaining, very provocative, and incredibly wise and talented. He leads us through these it's like a guided meditation. We call it a marab. It's
Yeah.
done with music, and they are so deep, incredibly deep.
Now, Jeff, how do you feel when you channel Adamus? Do you feel ecstasy, or do you feel the same feeling he's feeling? What is your, I mean, what state you are in at that point? Do you like it?
Yes, I'm conscious. I'm aware of things going on in the room, especially now with my eyes open. I love it because it puts me in a different place. I'm kind of in a different dimension. Uh, I don't feel any body aches and pains. I'm not thinking in my head. My job is I'm a translator. I
Yeah.
take incoming. He doesn't talk to me in words. It's energy packets, and I have to take those and translate them into English. So I'm very, very busy, but yet I'm aware of what's happening in the room. Literally during a channel, Adamas and I can have a side conversation. So I'm channeling away, my mouth is going, but he and I are talking, and he might be commenting about a certain person in the audience, or might be telling me maybe slow down a little bit, or he's very much a perfectionist. He wants me to channel in a very precise way. So he'll come along and say, "No, no, no, no. You gotta kind of open up your arms, let your body flow with this." During it, I love it. I have to say, I have a hard time afterwards, particularly on big channels. I've seen too much, and I've been to such a beautiful place. It's so easy channeling. I mean, you're in such a great place. When I'm done, I have to come back down to earth, down to mass consciousness, and it sometimes takes a day afterwards to deal with it. I'm not in a bad mood. I'm not depressed, but there's a sadness. Is the best way of saying it. There's been times where Linda has had to nearly pour water over me to get me back in,
Yeah.
because it's like, no, I want to stay out there. It's so nice out there,
Yeah.
but I come back,
Yeah, Jeff. I
and
mean,
then usually after a channel, I'm hungry. I
oh
want
yeah. Or
I
you want
want a
some?
burger.
You want to celebrate that beautiful
Yeah,
event? You
I
know,
want a glass of wine, a beer,
yeah,
and
that's what
a
I
piece
like to
of
do. That
chocolate
too.
cake. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not a channeler, but I feel the same with you guys because when I do this in front of the microphone, and you are all channeling the stories and these stories or Adamus or anything that you say through me, because I send it to the world. Not
yeah.
only me, all the podcasters and YouTubers who interview you, we feel the same. We feel like a channel. We're not doing much. We're doing the technical stuff here, basically
Mm,
recording, editing, and letting it go in the world. That's what we're doing.
yeah,
But it affects me too.
yeah.
Like after the interview right now, after the great interview, I need a couple hours to come back to my senses. I feel like I want to go
Yes.
walk, like you said. I want to have a glass of wine. I want to celebrate because it's a
Yeah.
beautiful conversation, and I feel the energy, powerful energy. And it's like I cannot just switch my head right away and start doing something. No, I stay in this aura for a couple hours at least. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's beautiful, and it's sometimes, like I said, it's really tough coming back because now I got to deal with the day to day, life stuff. But
Yeah,
I love channeling, and according to Adamus and Tobias, uh, I had I had plenty of practice in past lifetimes as a channeler. So when I started doing it, it was pretty natural.
okay,
I
all
didn't
right,
really have to work at it, so I'd done it before.
yeah,
But it used to always be in a trance, and now I'm really not. One of the hardest things for me in channeling is I'm channeling and I can feel the audience. I can feel them right now, kind of as me, Geoffrey. I can feel your viewers, but when I'm channeling, I really feel it, and I have to be very careful because I can feel people's agony and pain.
yeah,
I can feel them calling out, "Please,
yeah,
Adamus,"
yeah,
and I have to be careful not to get wrapped up in that.
yeah,
Once in a while, I hear somebody telepathically talking to Adamas saying, "Adamas, if you're real, say the word watermelon." And I'm hearing this. It's not out loud. It's psychically. I'm hearing this. And it's like, oh God, don't get caught up in that. Don't play
yeah.
games with it.
I get that in the comments a lot too. People are just, they asking my guest, and they're complaining and they have their problems. And
Right.
some of them are sharing beautiful stories from their own experience. Some are just sharing their pain because people are in pain.
They
So
are. They
yeah,
are.
so yeah,
It's pain and suffering, and it's one of Adamas's key things. We have to put an end to suffering on this planet. It's we're so used to it that we don't even question it. It's like, well, suffering is a part of life, and particularly the churches have really reinforced that suffering doesn't have to be part of the human journey anymore. And it's one of the things that's going to be changing in the years ahead is we finally say no more to suffering.
yeah,
The Catholic Church has Jesus on the cross, and you walk into a church,
yeah,
and here at the front, a great big
It's
uh,
suffering right away. Yeah.
suffering. And it's, we're told we have to pay for our sins, and none of that's true. Suffering is needless. Truly is. And I'm hoping that we can evolve consciousness on the planet to the point where suffering is minimized. I mean, or completely gone, but at least minimized.
Jeff, we've been talking for an hour, so I'm gonna just we're gonna conclude the podcast. I want to ask you about your books. I've been browsing through your books, and what is amazing that your books, almost all of them, have a 5-star rating, which is very
Mm.
unusual. You notice that on Amazon, 5-star, almost all of them. And if you can, tell my viewers about your books and about the seminars you do, and about the Crimson Cycle too.
Sure. We have, I think it's 5 books that are out. And I have to be honest, we don't focus a lot on books. And the reason why is it takes so long
Yeah, it
to
does.
produce them, to get them out.
You know.
And these days we'll do a podcast and we can have it
Yeah.
done or not a podcast, but
Yeah.
a webcast. We can have it out in weeks
Yeah.
into everybody. So it's very timely. But I love the comments when I go to Amazon and I read the book comments. And I love the fact that it gets good ratings. I'd feel really bad if it didn't,
Yeah.
but we really don't push the books. More than anything, we do a monthly webcast. It's the first Saturday of every month with a live channeling with Adamas, free of charge. We have a library of 25 years of these monthly webcasts. And again, no charge at all. You can go back in and you find so much profound wisdom over the years. That's really our big focus. And that's how we get the word out. We also do live workshops. Linda and I used to travel a lot. We don't so much anymore. We do the workshops from our retreat center in Kona, Hawaii, which is the big island. I'm going to be going back there soon. I love the live workshops because we're interacting, and Adamus is very interactive, and he's talking to everybody. He's giving them. We have a workshop coming up in 2025, early 2025. It's called KITA, KITA. It's with Adamus. It stands for kick in the ass. So, I mean, if you can imagine,
I never heard
and
that, but it's a good one.
in our store
Kita.
page that and Adamas came up with that in our store page. Could you imagine
Kita.
who would sign up and pay good
Yeah.
money to fly to Hawaii and have your ass kicked? But his point is, the energy gets stuck. Even if you're a realized master, the energies get stuck, and once in a while you need a kick in the ass, and he's
Yeah.
happy to do it.
Yeah.
And so I love the live workshops. They're so
Yeah. So
entertaining.
what's the website? And if you can, name
Sure.
that, maybe email or something. I don't know.
Sure, crimsoncircle.com. It's real easy. Crimson
Okay.
like the color, circle like the shape, crimsoncircle.com. We just put up our new website about a month ago. It's beautiful. I love it. A wonderful web designer from one of our Shambra people from Russia did the design, and then our team, our internal team, put it all together. But there's just a lot of information on the website, absolutely free of charge. There are things if you want to pay for, we call them cloud classes, really deep, extensive things. And then we do the live workshops in Kona. But I would suggest to any viewer to start out with the monthly shouds. All the
Yeah.
information is there.
Yeah. All right. And a final question I ask everybody, Jeff, what's your definition of freedom?
Now I tell you a little story behind that. Adamus asked that question one time at one of the monthly gatherings to the audience, and he said, "Are humans ready for freedom?" And everybody's nodding their head, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we want freedom." Like in the Braveheart movie, freedom.
Yeah.
And Adamus said, "Nope, actually, humans really don't. They want a little bit of freedom. They want a little bit of circus and beer. They want a little entertainment, but they're not ready for true freedom. And true freedom is when you integrate all of your aspects, all of your past lives, all of your, we call them aspects, they're like wounded parts of self. when you recognize that the law is not yours, when you recognize you are a sovereign being, but it's really complete. I mean, it's like true freedom is beautiful, but then you release a lot of other things, and most people aren't ready for true freedom. Um, as a sovereign being, you're beholden to no one or nothing. You're truly sovereign, and as good as it sounds, people are like, well, okay, but if I'm a sovereign being, what about my family, my kids? What about my job? What about my investments? It's like you let all that go. You know, it still might be in your orbit, but you stop focusing on that. You're truly a sovereign being. The energy is yours, not some universal field of energy. You are truly a sovereign being, and I would agree with Adamus. Most people aren't really ready for that. Fortunately, there are enough on the planet that are, but it's a big step. It's a big step. And myself personally, I'm not totally free. There's still things that I hang on to intentionally. Yeah, and freedom is one of those kind of funny words. Everybody says, "Yeah, I want freedom," but when it truly looks them in the face, they're afraid of it. So they do incremental freedom. I think really to get to the kind of one of the real answers is financial freedom is so important because that's the one thing that can really get you down in this life.
Yeah,
You know, if you're working a job that you hate, you barely have enough money to pay your bills, it's going to inhibit your spiritual growth. Uh, so
exactly. Yeah,
people are like, well, what do I need to do? Well, first of all, realize that abundance is a good thing. I mean,
yeah.
it's our natural
It is. Yeah.
state.
It's freedom. It makes you free, Tom. You can walk away from anything and from anybody. And I
Yeah,
remember that phrase was going around for a long time, and it's still out there. Money doesn't buy happiness. You know what? When you are poor, you can't even buy anything, not even happiness, nothing.
right, right.
So, yeah, but we don't have to sacrifice our life to become rich and wealthy. It starts from here, from freedom
Exactly.
from inside. And when
It's a
you are free from
consciousness.
inside, when you're not afraid of anything, Jeff,
Yeah,
because when you live in fear, you say, okay, I'm going to lose my apartment because it's been my house, because it's been mortgaged. I'm going to lose my car because it's mortgaged. And then all this fear comes around. You're going to lose your life and your family is going to live under the bridge. That's just make a pressure, make it worse. But
yeah,
when you have a little place and you say, you know what, I'm peaceful with this and I'm content with this, I don't have the fear, that's the beginning of the freedom.
yeah,
And then it
yeah,
attracts to you because you already feel content. You already feel like you got it. You're not afraid of poverty anymore because you're okay,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
absolutely. And if there's any takeaway for your wonderful viewers from this whole hour that we spent together, is that that abundance, whether it's financial or health or anything, abundance is our natural angelic state of being. We had it distorted when we came to this planet and took on the human form, but you can return to that natural state of abundance. It's also a state of grace. And how you do it is you just allow it. You just, you stop thinking about it and working at it. You breathe it in every day and allow it, and not telling it what to do or how to do it, but I am abundance. And then it comes back to you.